Part 70. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 701. When you come to these 99 satellite cities, you have arrived at the capital of the underworld. The underworld capital plus these 99 satellite cities have a total of 100 cities. The area of these 100 cities is also called the underworld realm. The Minghuang realm is similar in scope to the Yufu, but this is the Beiming Empire and the absolute core of the Beiming Emperor continent. It has dense cities and a large number of cultivators. Many cultivators, even if they can't go to Hades City, can enter the nearby satellite city to practice, which is quite good. These satellite cities are not that easy to get into. After Wu Yu came to this underworld realm, he also clearly felt that it was not on the same level as other places in the northern underworld empire, and this place was particularly high level. Tianyan City is only the outermost satellite city, which Wu Yu mistakenly thought was the underworld capital. Wu Yu now has a hard time imagining what the real underworld city would look like. They arrived here at night. Although it was night, every city was basically very bright. The entire underworld realm is patrolled by immortal armies everywhere. However, Princess Yuking has a distinguished status. Just because of her face, no matter where she goes, she will immediately have to kneel down and pass directly. Therefore, Wu Yu passed by satellite cities one after another in shock. If we really encounter huge troubles, the magic formations of these satellite cities can be integrated with the magic formations of the Hades city, gathering the power of all the cultivators in the entire underworld emperor realm to form a superpower that can seal the entire Hades emperor realm. Big Magic Circle. However, it seems that it has never been used even though it was designed by our ancestors. Today, the situation in the Yanhuang ancient territory is relatively stable. The Yanhuang ancient kingdom is a dominant one, and other immortal cultivating countries can only compete if they unite. Of course, there are also small frictions between them. Only by passing through the giant satellite cities one after another can we gradually approach the underworld. In fact, each satellite city is about the same size as the capital city of a government. This shows that the entire Beiming Empire, and most of the cultivators are actually in the Hades Emperor territory, which is the absolute core. After passing through many satellite cities, Wu Yu finally saw the shadow of Hades City. After seeing Mingdu, he realized that the satellite city was indeed not that big. Mingdu was the largest city that Wu Yu had seen so far. Perhaps it could no longer be described as a city. He simply didn't know how to describe it. This underworld city is huge, like a huge island covering the land. In the sky above the underworld, thousands of pillars of spiritual energy, in the shape of black divine dragons, are pouring towards the underworld. On the ground, there are also thousands of pillars of black divine dragon spiritual energy, erupting upwards. The two kinds of spiritual energy interact with each other, collide and explode into each other. Under the excitement, the entire underworld was shrouded in fairy palace-like smoke. Every breath is refreshing and delicious. The underworld is like a jet-black glazed gemstone, shining under the night sky, like a huge meteorite falling from the starry sky. In the past, Yanhuang Emperor City was definitely very big, but in fact, if this Hades city was compared to a crown, Yanhuang Emperor City could only be regarded as the dimmest one among the thousands of gems in it. That's right, the underworld city is like a crown made of pitch-black crystal and glass. It is placed between heaven and earth and becomes the capital of the Beiming clan. Countless ascetics pursue their dreams of becoming immortals here. But in the end, there may only be one or two people who may become immortals. Not to mention other things, the underworld marine core is all in the underworld city, making people yearn for it. Mingdu is very big, but I heard from Yuchong that there are not many people in Mingdu. It is sparsely populated and more people are in the surrounding satellite cities. In fact, because of this, fewer people divide more resources, and each person can have more. With Princess Yuking leading the way, Basically no obstacles were encountered, and no one asked who Wu Yu was along the way. In fact, any news spreads very quickly here. The news about Princess Yuki in Hangxian City in the far north has actually been sent back to the underworld city. After all, it concerns Yin Xian, who is also in the underworld city. Princess Yuki took Wu Yu all the way until they came to the gate of Mingdu. When you come here, you can see the most famous underworld marine corps in the underworld. All the legions stationed on the city wall belong to the Pluto Legion. The number of members of the Hades Marine Corps in Hades City even exceeds the number of people with other identities in Hades City. Looking around, on the city wall, there are people from the Hades Marine Corps wearing black Taoist armor. Their black armor has many blood-red embellishments. The black brings coldness, but the blood color is evil. This combination is the favorite of the Beiming Empire. When integrated into the battle armor of the Hades Marine Corps, it also looks very domineering. A closer look shows that most of the ordinary soldiers are very young. Looking around, there are thousands of people at the city gate alone, and there is not even one who is under the form of the soul. When he comes to this place, Wu Yu the realm is actually the lowest. Sure enough, the overall temperament of the people of these 8 legions is a level higher than that of the Li Tianfu army. They are similar to the people of the Yanlong Legion that Wu Yu encountered last time. This is already the highest level legion in the entire Yanhuang ancient territory. Wu Yu still had some vague expectations for joining the Hades Marine Corps, fighting hard in the Hades Navy Corps, and working hard to rise. Standing in this position, you can only see a small corner of the Hades city, but this is the epitome of the entire Hades city: cold, harsh, hierarchical, with strength and status supreme. Everyone who wants to enter the Hades city must go through strict inspections. Of course, Princess Yuking does not need to. After she came back, she was directly recognized by the people of the Hades Navy Corps, and someone quickly came over and introduced her into a special passage. This chapter is not over, please click on the next page to continue reading. Greetings to the princess, I am the Mingyun General Gao Haixing who is on duty today. Welcome the princess back to the Ming capital. A middle-aged man appeared. He was very tough and serious. His cultivation level was probably similar to that of Xiao Qingshan and Duan Yi that he had met before. They were both close to the Dao realm. No courtesy, Princess Yuking said casually, leading Wu Yu in through the special passage. Princess, this person. Gao Xingxing stood up and stepped aside. At this time, Princess Yuking had already entered, and Wu Yu was still behind. Gao Xingxing looked at Wu Yu and hesitated. According to the Beiming Empire, according to the regulations, he cannot enter the underworld. Princess Yuking smiled and said, "Are you kidding me?" Gao Xingxing was immediately discouraged. He also knew that he couldn't stop him, so he could only say, "No, but, it's okay." He hesitated for a long time, and finally gritted his teeth and endured it. In fact, it was him who let Wu Yu in. He was negligent in his duty, but there was nothing he could do about it. The person who took him in was Princess Yuking. No one can stop it. It happened to be his turn, so he was unlucky, but in fact, it was unlikely that he would be held accountable. By the way, Princess, I was told to tell the princess that when you come back, go back to the palace of the underworld as soon as possible. Someone wants to see you, Gao Xingxing said. Yuking stopped. She was a little strange and asked, "Who wants to see me?" Gao Xingxing shook his head and said, "I don't know this anymore, but I know that this is the order from the Legion commander. It was conveyed to me, asking the princess to return to the palace of the underworld quickly. Uncle Emperor? If you have any news, just use this talisman. If you convey it like this, you probably don't want me to come back quickly. But if you return to the underworld, you still have to go there. It's probably not an urgent matter." Thinking about it like this, Princess Yuking was not in a hurry either. After entering the underworld, it was indeed a lot more empty. There were exquisite buildings everywhere and the population was a bit sparse. However, it was undeniable that this place was indeed very attractive. At least in terms of the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, the spiritual energy was simply like fairy energy, condensed into a ball. Like giant beasts, running on the street, bumping into Wu Yu from time to time, taking a breath, it almost feels like heaven. I will take you around the underworld first to familiarize yourself with the place, and then we will go back to the imperial palace. I have seen the emperor's uncle and recommended it to you, Yu King said with a smile. She was in a good mood when she came back here. Okay. It is indeed very big. Looking around, there are black glass-like buildings everywhere. Under the stars in the night sky, this underworld city shines like gems. There are beautiful scenes everywhere. In the underworld city, probably most everyone is cultivating, so there are relatively few pedestrians on the street. Even if there are people, they are looking for shops selling various fairy spirits and Taoist tools. On the streets, there are people from the Hades Marine Corps walking around everywhere, probably patrolling, but basically they are relatively relaxed. After walking a few steps, Princess Yuki received the original talisman. After opening it and reading it, Wu Yu had a general idea. However, Princess Yuki still said in detail, "Unlucky, it seems we still have to go back early. Because it's almost time." "What time?" Princess Yuking said, "Today is the last day for the Taku Immortal Road to be closed, and there is only 1 hour left." "What does this have to do with us?" "Other people and their forces on Wangxiantai don't know the truth. They haven't appeared until now. Basically, except for the demons, everyone's forces have sent envoys and are waiting for me to go back in the Hades Palace. My uncle didn't want to cause trouble at first, so he sent them away at will, but now that the time is almost up, those people are very anxious, so they started to make trouble. They must ask me to find out. Moreover, they heard that you are here too. Since time it seems that you were the last to leave Taku Immortal Road, so in fact, they heard about you and wanted to see you. And there's this trouble. Of course, don't worry that they know it was Wu Yu's doing. As for how to deal with it, Wu Yu still had a plan in mind. It's not difficult, just say you didn't see it. After all, that's how the Taku Immortal Road is. As long as it's closed, no one will know what happens. Even if they ask themselves, they can't ask anything, and it's unlikely that they will come out." However, Wu Yu was depressed about another matter. He asked, "Among them, are there envoys from the Yanhuang ancient kingdom?" Princess Yuking said, "There should be." "Did he want to take me away?" "Then I don't know. However, it seemed that with so many messengers summoning him, he had to go." Chapter 4. Day 1, End. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 702. In fact, Wu Yu no longer cares about what happened in the ancient Immortal Road. Because he knows that the genius cultivators or top demons that so many people are waiting for now have already passed away half a year ago. So, he naturally doesn't know that there are only 1 or 2 hours left, or even less. It is estimated that many people are now nervously waiting for their princes, the hope of the future, to return to the world of Yanfu at this last moment. At this time, it is estimated that many people have given up in their hearts. After all, if they really want to live, they should know that they need to come out quickly. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. However, before the end, people will still not give up. They guess that what if these people have important things in there? Must they hold on to the end? In fact, with the ancient immortal talisman, the mortality rate of the ancient immortal road is not high. At least the top group of people are unlikely to get into trouble. The accident of Emperor Yu and the inexplicable death of the eternal shark are both rare events. Some of those who have not returned have been confirmed to have died in the ancient immortal road, but the 7 people who have received the most attention are still the 7 people. Under normal circumstances, they all have the ancient immortal talisman, so it is unlikely that they will not be able to come out. At their level, there are about 10 people who went in. How could it be that only Princess Yuxiang came out by herself? For the entire Yanfu world, this is incomprehensible. In the recent dozens of times the ancient immortal road was opened, basically no such thing happened. If this group of people really can't come back, it will definitely be an earthquake-level event, and it will also make geniuses at their level consider whether to go in and take risks in the next few times the ancient immortal road is opened. Wu Yu knew how important this matter was, so he had prepared his words in his mind and had completely checked with Princess Yuxiang. After confirming that there was no problem, they quickly went to the Underworld Palace. The Underworld Palace is located in the center of the Underworld City, which is equivalent to the Imperial City of Wudu. It is a city within a city, and naturally it is also the most difficult place to conquer in the entire Beiming Empire. The ancestors of the Beiming clan built the capital here hundreds of thousands of years ago, and the history can even be traced back to the era of the devouring demon ancestor. It is even older, but there are too few things that can be passed down at that time. But the Underworld Palace does have a very long history. In Wu Yu's opinion, this is a dazzling crystal city, but if you look closely, even the simplest brick has tens of thousands of magic arrays engraved on it. This is simply a city of magic arrays. It is hard to imagine how solid and terrifying the entire Underworld Palace will become after this magic array is activated. The Underworld Palace does not seem to need to be guarded, so there are not many troops of the Underworld Sea Legion in the Underworld Palace. The entire Underworld Palace, from a distance, looks very deep and empty. Here, the spiritual energy has entered another state, forming a light black mist that covers the entire Underworld Palace, so the vision in the Underworld Palace is very limited. Even the gate of the Underworld Palace was not guarded. Princess Yuxi was very generous. She stretched out her hand, held Wu Yu's hand, and pulled Wu Yu through the gate. She said, "Only those who are allowed to enter the Underworld Palace can enter by holding your hand. Otherwise, the magic array of the Underworld Palace will be directly activated and turn you into ashes. This is an attack that even the strong men in the 3 disasters asking realm cannot resist. There are not many people in the world who can force their way in. Most of them have the possibility of becoming immortals. Basically, it is difficult to survive 2 tribulations." Wu Yu knew this, because he could know what Princess Yuxi had in mind. In fact, a woman's mind is very complicated. There is a lot of information every day. Wu Yu is also very troubled and even has some burdens, but for his own safety, he thinks it is not a trouble. At least he can know whether Yuxi is truly submissive to him. She pulled Wu Yu and easily entered the Underworld Palace. The Underworld Palace is simply a paradise for cultivators, but there are indeed too few people who are allowed to enter here. It was hard to see how many people were there. Most of them were probably practicing, especially the top ones, who were working hard to become immortals. "Is your father in there too?" Wu Yu was still in awe of this Emperor of the Underworld Sea. From the information Yuxin gave him, he was the strongest person in the entire Beiming Empire. "My father was chasing the immortal path, wandering around, and he hadn't been in the palace for a long time. However, if there was anything important, he would naturally handle it." Yuxin talked about this Emperor of the Underworld Sea, his eyes full of respect. "Follow me." The other side seemed to be in a hurry. Yuxin took Wu Yu to shuttle quickly in the Underworld Palace. He really didn't meet anyone on the way, but he saw a lot of various magic arrays. This Underworld Palace was very large. In fact, it was about the same as the entire Yanhuang Emperor City, but the number of people was much less. Finally, they arrived at a magnificent palace with a few big characters carved on the plaque, Underworld Palace. After the 2 arrived, the Netherworld Hall opened automatically. The interior was magnificent. Before they had time to look around, they were pushed into the netherworld hall by a force from nowhere. The netherworld hall was empty and cold. Wu Yu glanced and saw 5 cultivators in front and on both sides. In front of the netherworld hall, facing the main door, was a pitch-black chair. The chair was like a tiger. The man's feet were on the head of the black tiger. The man on the chair shocked Wu Yu at once. He was a middle-aged man wearing a simple black suit and a long beard. He looked very elegant, but under this elegant appearance, he had a pair of cold eyes. These eyes were like a window to a world of ice and snow. Just a glance at them made Wu Yu feel completely cold. The man was not tall, but he was indeed domineering on the chair. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Wu Yu naturally knew that this man was the commander of the Underworld Sea Corps, the uncle of Princess Yu-11, and the younger brother of Emperor Underworld Sea, named Yu Shang. In fact, in the mortal fairyland, the younger brother of the emperor would be enfeoffed as a prince, and it was best not to directly take charge of the corps, after all, because they were worried about seizing power, but it seemed different here. Wu Yu guessed that it might be because Emperor Underworld Sea had too high a cultivation level, and could shock several corps and Yu Shang completely by relying on his personal cultivation, so there was no need to seek power and usurp the throne. Before he could think about it, 2 people on the left and 2 on the right, a total of 4 people, also brought great pressure to Wu Yu and Princess Yuxiang. Wu Yu looked around and found that there were 3 men and 1 woman around, all of whom were about the same age as Yu Shang. They had practiced Taoism for more than 300 years and were at their peak. Obviously, the realm of these people was a big level higher than that of Duanyi and others. They were definitely in the realm of the 3 disasters and the way. If nothing unexpected happened, Yu Shang should be the most powerful here. Wu Yu clearly felt that his power was twice as strong as that of the Lord of Yuan City. For mortals who practice Taoism to become immortals, the realm of asking for the way is the last realm. They realize the Tao in the 3 disasters. If they succeed, they will ascend to immortality in 1 step. If they lose, they will be wiped out. This is the most terrifying realm, thrilling, exciting, and rewarding. For Wu Yu, these are the strong men who dominate the entire world of Yanfu. They are not geniuses, but they have transformed the strength of genius into strength. Among the 4 people, the one who impressed Wu Yu the most was the one wearing a golden dragon robe. His eyes were golden and his gaze was like a flame in the dark night, which was out of place here. The environment was too dark, so his light was particularly dazzling, and he paid special attention to Wu Yu. Wu Yu knew very well that this person was from the ancient country of Yanhuang. He came for the little prince. From the anxious look in his eyes now, he was indeed worried about the little prince. The remaining 3 people, one wearing a sword robe, with white hair, and cold murderous intent hidden in the light wind and clouds, needless to say, is a person of the eternal sword Dao, who came for Fengji Unqing. A woman who was covered in a black robe, but the wide black robe still couldn't cover her seductive figure, with a mysterious and attractive aura all over her body, making people unable to divert their eyes from her. Her charm was similar to that of the Lord of Yuan City, but more charming. This person should be from the Demon Heaven dynasty. The 4th one was dressed like a scholar, looking more elegant, making people feel like being bathed in spring breeze, and even smiling all the time, even when he was anxious, and even surrounded by white clouds. Needless to say, Wu Yu also knew that this person came from the ghost cultivation world Izumo country. The Beiming Empire is actually a cultivation dynasty, but it is cold and dark, while Izumo country is clearly a ghost cultivation dynasty, but it is sunny and warm. Sometimes it is really hard to recognize. As soon as the 2 came in, the top commander of the Ming High Corps said, "Yan'er, you have seen these people. Time is limited, so I won't say much. They ask you questions, and you just answer them. After all, it is less than an hour before the ancient immortal road is closed." Yu Yan said, Didn't I ask everything clearly last time? I really have nothing to say. I really don't know about their whereabouts. Yu Shang glanced at Wu Yu and said, this time is different. There are other people present obviously. He also knew about Wu Yu's existence and his performance in Hangxian City. He may even know about the demon dragon. Princess Yuxiang quickly introduced the identities of these people to Wu Yu. She only needed to recite them silently. The person from the ancient country of Yanhuang is named Yan Cheng. He seems to be the personal guard of the Prince of the East. He has a very high status in the ancient country of Yanhuang. He works specifically for the Prince of the East and is a confidant of the Prince of the East. The Prince of the East is very scary. He is in charge of almost an entire continent. He is actually similar to the Emperor of the Underworld. The person from the Demon Heaven dynasty is the woman named Qingxian. She is the aunt of Prince Feng. Rumor has it that she is very fierce and a woman with a vicious heart, but she cares about Prince Feng. The person from the Chuiyun Kingdom is the commander of the Chuiyun Kingdom's Quankai Corps. He also has a very high status. His name is King Guiudaki. There is one last person. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qingyang. Chapter 703. The last one is the person from the Eternal Sword Dao. This person's name is Jian Dongjing, and he seems to be Feng Jianqing's master. The Eternal Sword Way is different from the Cultivation Empire, and it pays more attention to the inheritance of the master. This place is a bit interesting, somewhat similar to the sects on Dongsheng Shenzhou. To Wu Yu, what Yu Chong said was nothing more than telling him that these people are of the highest status and strength and should be dealt with caution. For Wu Yu, it was indeed a problem to be surrounded by a group of such big figures when he first arrived in the Yanhuang ancient territory. Now he was like a rabbit walking into a jungle of lions, and he had to be on tenterhooks. Fortunately, there is a little lion named Princess Yotong around, and this little lion is still under his control. Otherwise, with his background, identity, resources, and secrets, he would be eaten alive by these lions. Even with Princess Yuking, Wu Yu would probably not be able to forget for a long time that these powerful people in the Wenwen realm gave him the feeling that they could take his life at any time. Sure enough, the person they wanted to ask was not Yu Qi. He probably showed up quickly when he heard that Wu Yu was coming here before leaving the Beiming Empire. Then Yan Qing asked first, "Are you Wu Yu from Yanhuang Emperor City in Dongsheng Divine Continent?" He specially brought Yanhuang Emperor City with him, probably with the intention of getting closer to him. Wu Yu nodded and didn't know what to call him, so he said directly, "Yes." The other party did not waste any nonsense and went straight to the point, saying, "You also know the situation. The Taku Immortal Road will be closed soon. There are still a few important young people who have not come out. You and Princess Yuki are the last ones to come out. Then do you know what happened at Thunder Peak, where they are, and whether they encountered anything?" The Green Blood Seal of the Motion Dynasty said, "It doesn't have to be so complicated. Just talk about what you saw after arriving at Thunder Peak and before leaving. Have you seen Prince Feng, King Guyu Yunci, the young prince and Feng Jianqing?" Wu Yu nodded and said, "It's almost time. Let me put it simply. After entering the Thunder Mountain Peak, I escaped all the way because of the spiritual artifact. Then, like everyone else, I encountered the electric eating snake. The electric eating snake is very scary. At that time, many people left. After hesitating, I did not choose to leave, but continued. Finally, I climbed to the top of the mountain, where there are the most electric eating snakes. I met Princess Yuking here because there were too many electric eating snakes. Although we had some conflicts before, we still resisted the electric eating snakes together and helped each other. Next there were so many electric snakes here that we were trapped in a corner and couldn't get out, so we didn't meet anyone else. Later, we tried to move, but there was still no way and nothing was gained. Princess Yuking decided to come back first. I continued to persist for a while. In the end, the space to move was very limited. Although there was still half a year left, considering in my hometown, the matter with the heaven-devouring demon ancestor was not resolved, so I left Taku Immortal Road. When I left, it was probably about 3 months ago. After I came out, I did not expect that the matter with the heaven-devouring demon ancestor had been resolved. I saw Dongsheng Shenzhou. It's hard for me to make any progress. Princess Yuking also invited me here before, so I came here. He thought for a while and decided that it would be better to say that he came from Dongsheng Divine Continent, otherwise he would have to make up an ancient immortal talisman. After all, he came from Hangxian City in the far north and could only rob the sea monster. But I am afraid that they will ask carefully what kind of monster it is. What he said was similar to what Princess Yuking said, which was that she was controlled by the electric snake in a small area. It's just that he came out a little later. That is to say, you don't know the whereabouts of our little prince, N.A. Yanking asked impatiently. Wu Yu nodded and said, I really don't know. If I knew, I would have found a way to tell you. I thought everyone had come out on Thunder Peak. After all, the ubiquitous electricity-eating snakes were completely sealed. There is room for us to move. They may have another adventure. The time has not come yet, maybe they will come back at the right time. The anxious 4 of them were also a little disappointed at this time, but in fact they also understood that even if Wu Yu knew where these people were, it would be useless. If they couldn't come out, even if they knew, they wouldn't be able to come out. King Xuesil said, Wu Yu, can you guarantee that what you are telling is the truth? You should know how serious it is to fool us. Wu Yu nodded quickly and said, 4 of you, this matter is so important, of course I dare not lie. Seeing his sincere attitude, the 4 of them had nothing to say. From the beginning to the end, they never imagined that the person they were waiting for would be killed by Wu Yu. After a while, the eternal sword Daos Jian Dongjing suddenly frowned and said, I have a question. When you 2 first got together, Princess Yuking, didn't you want to take your spiritual weapon? This is indeed a question. Wu Yu and Wu Yu looked at each other. They were connected by the soul controlling blood formation and they immediately agreed on the answer. Princess Yuking said, to be honest, I was forcing him to hand over the spirit at the beginning. Taoist weapon, but there were too many electric-eating snakes around, so it was difficult for me to take him down. Later, the 2 of us worked together to survive, and he saved my life, so, it's just a spiritual Taoist tool, and I will have it in the future. She didn't need to be too clear. The 4 people would naturally understand and imagine in a certain direction. After all, young men and women were indeed prone to being emotional. The time is getting closer and closer. Since Wu Yu and Yu Chong don't know the whereabouts of the others, these 4 people will not press for questioning. However, they do not leave directly, but wait here together for the closure of the Taku Immortal Road. They still hold out hope. Everyone was silent. Princess Yuking wanted to resign, but Yan Qing suddenly looked at Wu Yu and said, since you are from Yanhuang Emperor City, you are also from my Yanhuang clan. After a while, you will follow me back the ancient country of Yan and Huang. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. His tone was a command, and he didn't give Wu Yu much right to refuse. Of course, it seemed natural for him to do so. The other people didn't think anything of it. Wu Yu and Princess Yu Chong had long expected that this person would be like this, and at this time they also had a response in their hearts. Wu Yu said directly, Master Yan, Wu Yu has decided to stay in the Beiming Empire and follow Princess Yu Kang. I will not go to the Yanhuang ancient kingdom. Princess Yuking also immediately said, yes, We have a profound friendship on the Taku Immortal Road. Wu Yu is willing to stay here, so I will naturally give him the best conditions. When I come back this time, I want to recommend Wu Yu and enter to the Emperor's underworld regiment. As she said that, she glanced at Yu Shang and gave a look that was obviously coquettish, and Yu Shang would also understand what it meant. Yan Qing really didn't expect Wu Yu's rejection. He was startled for a moment and said, "You are barely half of the Yanhuang tribe. What are you doing in the Baiming tribe's territory? This place doesn't belong to you. I think you can be considered a genius, and you have a lot of good fortune, which prevents you from being dependent on others and allows you to recognize your ancestors and return to the clan. You still refuse. Are you too stupid to even think about such things clearly?" He was actually a little angry. He was already worried about the little prince. Wu Yu's rejection also made him a little embarrassed. Wu Yu would not let him be intimidated. In front of such powerful people, he could still remain calm and collected. At this time, he was extremely serious and said, "Master Yan, I'd better just be honest and tell the truth directly. You also know that I come from Dongsheng Divine Continent and come to this Yanhuang ancient territory. No matter where I am, I have nothing to rely on. But the fact that I got the spiritual Taoist artifact on the Taku Immortal Road is well known to everyone. Like me, no matter where I go, wherever I go, I am a fat sheep in the eyes of others, and people will want to take away my things. The only person I can trust in this Yanhuang ancient territory is Princess Yuki. Here I can keep my spiritual path. But after going to Yanhuang ancient country, it's not that I don't have confidence in Yanhuang ancient country, but, for a person with no background like me, no one will care what happens to me, right?" His statement is indeed very direct. The four people understood the hesitation revealed in Wu Yu's words. They also knew very well that in Wu Yu's situation, he went to the Yanhuang ancient kingdom and under the influence of a group of deep-rooted forces, let alone the Shangling Dao. The instrument, everything on the body, cannot bear it. Therefore, it is a suitable choice for him to stay here. At least it seems that he and Princess Yuking have a good relationship. After hearing this, Yan Qing looked unhappy. In fact, he wanted to say that even if you are in the Baiming Empire, even if you are protected by Princess Yuking, you may die without knowing it. But he couldn't speak ill of Princess Yuking directly in front of her. "Are you sure that you want to stay in the Baiming Empire and not return to the Yanhuang ancient kingdom? Do you know that most of the people who think the same as you and leave their own race will end up?" Yan Qing said solemnly. There was a threat in the voice. Wu Yu looked at Princess Yukin and said, "No matter what the outcome is, I have no regrets. Going to Yanhuang ancient kingdom now, without any capital, is simply looking for death." The Yanhuang ancient kingdom was indeed very dangerous for him. After listening, Yan Qing sneered and said, "Okay, when it comes to this, I won't force you, but Wu Yu, since you decide to stay here, you are basically severing the relationship between you and our Yanhuang ancient kingdom. It doesn't matter. From now on, I won't allow you to enter the Yanhuang ancient country. You can even abandon your mother country, and I will prevent you from returning for the rest of your life. Isn't that too much?" He was also quite ruthless, and even deprived Wu Yu of his qualification to enter the Yanhuang ancient kingdom. Even people from the Baiming Empire can go to the Yanhuang ancient kingdom. However, at this time, Wu Yu couldn't fight him. Now, the sooner these people leave, the better it would be for Wu Yu. So when Yan Qing made such a verdict, he kept his mouth shut and didn't speak. "Uncle Emperor, Wu Yu and I will retreat first," Princess Yuking said. "Don't worry, we are all here. We might as well wait for the Taku Immortal Road to close and see if there is any good news." Yu Shang smiled faintly and arrived. All in all, it's almost time. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Feng Qing Yang. Chapter 704. Going to the ancient country of Yanhuang may be a matter for the future. Now Wu Yu just wants to reach the realm of Yuan Shen Huaxing as soon as possible. There is no need to consider the future now. In fact, until now, the ancient immortal road is closed, and the previous journey of the ancient immortal road is officially over. Since they have to wait here, it's okay to wait. The two of them stepped aside and stood in the corner of this netherworld palace. As for the five big figures, they didn't communicate with each other at this time. They were all counting the time. At this time, too much talk will lead to mistakes, so Wu Yu and Princess Yuxiang didn't communicate much, just stood quietly. For a while, the silence in the netherworld palace was a bit scary. In fact, the five of them would occasionally look at Wu Yu. Maybe they noticed Wu Yu's outstanding physical body. I believe they would also be curious about what kind of inheritance and secrets Wu Yu has. After all, in a place like Dongsheng Shenzhou, normally, it is impossible for a person like him to appear. The news that he defeated Yin Xian actually caused a small stir in the Yanhuang ancient domain, especially in the Beiming Empire, where it was widely spread. From the Purple Mansion Kanghai realm to defeating the 6th level of the Yuan Shen Huaxing realm, it was unprecedented, so many people were curious about what secrets he had. If Princess Yuxiang had not defended Wu Yu with a firm attitude at this time, his situation would be very dangerous. The Yanhuang ancient domain was an opportunity for him, but more of a danger. However, they were still worried about the matter of the ancient immortal road, so their attention soon shifted away from Wu Yu. They waited anxiously, and the more time passed, the more anxious they became, and they were restless. It was estimated that there was only a quarter of an hour left, and Yuzhang shook his head helplessly and said, "Everyone, there may be no hope." "Don't say it yet, it hasn't been closed yet." Yan Qing was a little irritable and didn't give Yuzhang much face. After all, facing people from other Xiaoxian dynasties, all the people of the Yanhuang ancient country have the sense of superiority, and they have always been the masters of this Yanhuang ancient domain. Even though his strength might not be as good as Yuzhang's, Yuzhang still had to be very respectful to him. Yuzhang was too lazy to say more. Anyway, a quarter of an hour would pass quickly. They were all suffering in the remaining quarter of an hour. They basically stood up from their seats, paced around, and looked unhappy. The later they got, the paler they looked. Finally, the time was up, and no news came. Of course, Wu Yu had known the result long ago, so there was no suspense for him. The time was up, but Yan Qing still said, "Maybe they came out at the last moment. It will take another quarter of an hour for the communication talisman to get here from the ancient country of Yanhuang. Wait another quarter of an hour, and the news will come." He had already ordered that no matter whether they came out or not, they must pass on the news. Now they haven't received the tail talisman, so there is still a little hope. However, if they came out a quarter of an hour earlier, the tail talisman should have arrived now. Could the four of them all come out at the last moment? This is unlikely. So, although he said so, Yan Qing was depressed, which meant that he had actually given up. Wu Yu and Princess Yuxing looked at each other. Princess Yuxing felt somewhat relieved. If she had not resolutely decided to take out the soul control blood formation at the end, Yu Shang would have to wait anxiously like this, and might even alarm the Emperor of the Underworld Sea. She was the youngest daughter, and the Emperor of the Underworld Sea always loved her very much. Moreover, Wu Yu was actually not that bad to her, and never let her lose her dignity, but just asked her to help. Even though Yan Qing was stubborn, another quarter of an hour passed. At this time, the communication talisman arrived on time. The four people received the communication talisman almost at the same time. When they opened it, the faces of the four people became even worse, and the last bit of hope was gone. They put down the communication talisman and looked at each other. Looking at the faces of others, they knew that none of the four people came out. Even the 9-star Snow Chi, 8-winged Golden Peng and Emperor Tree, which were rumored to have not returned yet, were probably gone. After closing, they have not returned. From a historical point of view, it can be basically concluded that these people are dead, at least they will not appear in the world of Yanfu again. It is a heavy blow to the huge forces behind these people, the ancient country of Yanhuang, the demonic heaven dynasty, the Izumo kingdom and the eternal sword Dao. The faces of the four people are full of depression and helplessness. The little prince is talented and can take over the position of the prince of the eastern region in the future and revitalize the eastern region. My Prince Feng will definitely become a generation of demon king in the future. What a pity. Who knew that the ancient immortal road would cause such a huge loss this time? Who will be willing to enter the ancient immortal road when it is opened in the future? This time, there are too many top geniuses who died, especially the ancient country of Yanhuang, which also lost Emperor Li, Xuanhuan, etc. Indeed, the ancient country of Yanhuang suffered the greatest loss. They all envied Yu Hang, because Princess Yu Hang was almost the only survivor of their level. Yu Shang, Yu Beiming are lucky. I won't say more. Goodbye. Yan Qing's tone was full of envy and jealousy. Others also felt that they had no interest. Since the result had been confirmed, they could only leave. Allow me to see you off. Yu Shang was probably secretly happy in his heart. After all, these were all competitors. The overall situation was determined. Wu Yu and Princess Yu Xin were also prepared to wait for these people to leave before formally mentioning the matter of the underworld army to Yu Shang. Just when Yan Qing's face was cold and he was about to step out of the Nether Palace, another talisman came from the distance and he took it in his hand. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. How come there is news from the central divine continent? Yan Qing had a strange expression. He stopped and the others continued to go out. When he took a look at the contents of the tail talisman, he suddenly screamed and shouted, "How is that possible?" This loud roar frightened Wu Yu. After all, Yan Qing's reaction was too intense. What's going on? Several other people looked at him strangely. Now Yan Qing looked unbelievable. He was stunned for a long time before looking at everyone in shock. Wu Yu was also depressed. What news would there be? Yan Qing finally looked at Wu Yu and Princess Yuking. He finally calmed down and said word by word, "You may not believe it. Stop being so secretive and tell me quickly." Jian Dongjing of Eternal Sword Dao said. Yan Qing breathed out, and when everyone was extremely confused, he said, "News came from the Central Realm Divine Continent. The moment the Taku Immortal Road was closed, 4 people came out, namely Emperor Yu, Xuanhuan, and Chu Feng. Yu, Bailey Che-hun." After saying this, Yu Shang and the other 4 of them had expressions of disbelief and were speechless. But for Wu Yu and Princess Yuqian, this was like a bolt from the blue. They were shocked and blurted out, "This is impossible." He and Princess Yuking were equally shocked. I remember that at that time, he and Princess Yuking were very close to the gold and silver coffin, and they even saw them being swallowed into it. Later, when Wu Yu went in alone and destroyed the bronze door, he even saw the bodies of these 4 people. Definitely a corpse. Princess Yuking was a little incoherent and said, "It's impossible. Many of us saw a few of them being swallowed by the coffin. They will definitely die." Wu Yu's mind went blank. He did not doubt his own eyes. At least he was completely sure that they were caught by a monster and later saw their bodies. These were all true and could never be wrong. He didn't think that the information Yan Qing received now would be wrong. He could be sure that if these 4 people really appeared, it could only be said that the Taku Immortal Road was very wonderful. It's so amazing that dead people can still live and even come out. Fortunately, the young prince, Prince Feng, and others did not come out alive, otherwise, it would have been a big trouble. Ming Long said, "Maybe, it is possible that the 4 of them came out. After all, it is difficult to explain the Taku Immortal Road, but I think that even if they can't see any changes, they will actually have changes. It is even possible that they will bring some of the secrets of Teku Immortal Road. At least I think there must be some purpose for Teku Immortal Road to let them come out again. Otherwise, how could they appear at the last moment? In any case, you are not enough. When you are strong, when you encounter these 4 people in the future, you must take a detour and never get close to them, especially the Emperor. What Mingtaki means is that the current 4 people including Emperor Yu and the previous 4 may not be the same people. It is also possible that they have gone through some changes and are different from before anyway. Absolutely, don't get close to them. Mingtong felt scared when she thought about it, because she had also seen their corpses. Wu Yu was still immersed in the shock of the news. He really couldn't believe it. How could a person come back from the dead? He has piercing eyes, and he clearly sees that these people are dead. So for a long time, his mind was roaring. Yu Chong didn't take one last look at their corpses, so it was a little easier to accept. At this time, everyone else turned back and stood in front of the 2 of them. Yan Qing asked, "Didn't you say that you saw them die with your own eyes? What happened? Think about it, what happened at that time?" Wu Yu was speechless, and Princess Yuking could only say, "At that time, everyone saw them being grabbed by the monster in the gold and silver coffin and pulled inside. At that time, everyone thought they were all dead." "It seems so, but the Teku Immortal Road is so wonderful, maybe they survived, it is possible." "That should be it." Yan Qing nodded. He was not too excited that the Emperor's son survived. After all, he was from the Prince of the Eastern region, and what he wanted more was for the little prince to survive. But this was good news for the Yanhuang ancient kingdom, so he felt much better. Wu Yu didn't say much. Even if he knew more, he knew it was best not to say anything at this time. Chapter 3. Please click on the GG below when you check WeChat every day. Now that the madman has adjusted his schedule and is working hard on coding, I hope you can click on it. This is very important to lunatics. Lunatics also have time and money to use WeChat to carry out activities. To write a book, you still have to get excited. Some time ago, the madman was too quiet. Now we need everyone to work together. There is still 1 chapter left. Keep persevering and working hard. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 705. Things had already happened. Of course, they believed that everyone had seen it wrong. It was the Emperor and the others who had another adventure after entering the gold and silver coffin. This matter made Yan Qing excited. Seeing that it had nothing to do with him, the other 3 people also found it uninteresting after asking Yu Cheng. As for Yan Qing, he was too lazy to stay here. The results had already come out, and Wu Yu couldn't ask anything. He was also planning to go back directly. There would definitely be more news about Emperor Yu's son in the Yanhuang ancient kingdom. He looked at Wu Yu one last time and said, "Remember, the Yanhuang ancient kingdom is not a place you can go from now on." After saying that, he said to Yu Shang, "Don't send me away, I'll leave directly. Then we won't bother you, let's take our leave first." Jian Dongjing and others, after saying goodbye, they also walked away. After a while, all 4 of them left. They are all people with status, and there is no need to worry about them causing trouble in the Beiming Empire. After they left, Wu Yu was still immersed in depression. Minglong said, "You can't figure this out, so don't think about it. Most people haven't seen their bodies, and they can't be sure whether they are really dead. If you make a different statement at this time, if you hear such a voice, Emperor Kairu might be targeting you. Wouldn't it be scary for you to be targeted by such a person? So, from today on, you'd better not have any doubts about Emperor Kairu." Understood. After calming down, Wu Yu finally digested the news that was impossible for him. At this time, everyone had left. Yu Shang walked into the Nether Palace with his hands behind his back and said, "Come in, everyone." The guest has left. It seems that he has to deal with the matter of Wu Yu and Princess Yuking. Wu Yu temporarily recovered from the incident involving Emperor Yu. Emperor Yu was too far away from here and it was useless to think about it. He had better focus on his own situation first. Yu Shang returned to his black seat and looked down at Princess Yukang and Wu Yu. His face was expressionless and his mood could not be seen. He said, "First of all, I want to ask you, have you seen Emperor Yu die with your own eyes?" Princess Yuking said what she saw and said, "I thought he was dead, but looking at it now, a miracle may have happened." Wu Yu said, "I think so. After all, the Taku Immortal Road is so mysterious." "Okay, this is other people's business. Let's not talk about it for now. If someone asks again, just answer like this." Although Yu Shang's attitude when he spoke was expressionless, he seemed to regard Wu Yu as one of his own. He looked at the two of them and said, "Wu Yu, since you claim to serve our Beiming Empire in front of Yanqing, and the Yanhuang ancient kingdom also prohibited you from going, then from now on, you must serve our Beiming Empire. Is there a problem?" After all, Wu Yu is a genius boy with great talent. At least for now, his potential is about the same as Princess Yuking. He didn't expect Wu Yu to shake his head and said, "Actually, I don't want to work for the Beiming Empire. I just want to work for Princess Yukin. If she helps me, I will work hard for her. As long as she doesn't drive me away, I won't leave here." Princess Yuking also said, "Uncle, please don't embarrass him. We think very simply. Since we are friends and he has nowhere to go, we can help each other. With his help, no matter what I do, I will be able to do it. There is someone to take care of you. Don't bully him." Her tone of voice is coquettish and hard to refute, which is also her unique weapon. However, Yu Shang didn't follow her lead at this time. He said, "You go out first. I need to have a few words with him alone." No, Princess Yuking was worried about what he might do to Wu Yu, so she quickly refused. "Be obedient, Yu Shang, or I will tell your father," Yu Shang said seriously. There are some things that Yu Shang must warn himself personally. Wu Yu knows it very well. He is not worried about what he will do to him for the time being, so he lets Yu Shang go out first. If anything happens, he can only use Somersault Cloud to leave. If he wants to gain a foothold in this underworld city, he must pass the test of facing Yu Shang alone. "Don't bully him, or I'll ignore you," Yu Chong glared at Yu Shang before going out. After she went out, Yu Shang stood in front of Wu Yu. His eyes were as cold as a cold pool, making people feel cold from head to toe. Wu Yu was surrounded by a layer of cold wave, making him shiver with cold. Among the young people, there are not many who can stand in front of me like this and remain standing. "You are considered very good," Yu Shang circled around him and said. Wu Yu said nothing. "I'm not a person who likes to talk nonsense. Since Yukin is willing to make friends with you and protect you, she has grown up after all. I can't disobey her, but there are a few points that I must make clear to you. If after what I said, if you do it again, don't blame me for being rude. I will make you die 10,000 times in this Beiming Empire." "Sir, please tell me, I'm listening." In fact, he didn't need to say anything. Wu Yu knew what it was, and it was all insignificant to him. Yu Shang liked how straightforward he was, so he said, "First of all, I, the princess of the Beiming clan, do not accept foreign Taoist companions. What I mean is that even if Yu Shang is interested in you, you must keep an absolute distance from her. We can only maintain the relationship of friends or superiors and subordinates. Once it is violated, this is a taboo of our Beiming clan. When the time comes, even Yu Kang will not be able to protect you. Is it possible for you to do this?" Wu Yu smiled slightly and said, "Sir, please rest assured. There is only pure friendship between the princess and I. I am here to seek shelter from someone, so I know very well how to control this." Yu Shang didn't expect the conversation to go so smoothly. When he saw Wu Yu's eyes changed a little, he smiled slightly and said, "You little guy is a sensible person. You are indeed very smart for not going to the Yanhuang ancient kingdom. Since you know, I won't say much about the second point. As I mentioned just now, since Bei Ming is kind to you, you must never betray Bei Ming in this life, otherwise, I will not forgive you. Pass you." Wu Yu nodded and said, "If there is a drop of kindness, it will definitely be repaid by a spring. Betrayal is definitely impossible." This short conversation made Yu Shang look at Wu Yu with new eyes. He looked Wu Yu up and down and said, "To be honest, I'm really curious about what you have in you that can make you achieve such an achievement. If nothing else, you will definitely get it. It's a good inheritance. It's a pity that I can't take away your things because I value you so much. But as for how long I can protect you, I don't know. After all, the Beiming Empire, even there may be many people in the Hades Marine Corps who are curious about you, and they may kill you quietly one day. Are you afraid?" Wu Yu said, "I can only find the safest way, but life and death matter, so I'm not afraid." "You are a sensible person, which is good. However, I still have a little doubt. You are clearly of the Yanhuang tribe. Basically all the Taoist techniques in our Minghai Corps are good at the Beiming tribe. For you, it's not a good thing to say, but if you are in the Yanhuang ancient kingdom, you can find a lot of things suitable for you, so are you sure you want to join the Hades Marine Corps?" Just now, Princess Yuking had already recommended it. Of course Wu Yu knew this, but Wu Yu needed more spiritual transformation and experience than Taoism, so he didn't care for the time being. So he said, "It doesn't matter. Penetrating the bridge will be straight. There are thousands of Taoist techniques. I only choose one or two. There will always be one that suits me. It doesn't matter if it is more difficult. The mentality is not bad, I am somewhat looking forward to it." "How far can you reach in our underworld Navy regiment?" Yu Shang said. He also smiled. He waved to Princess Yukong to come in, and then took out a Zhongfulu, handed it into Wu Yu's hand and said, "Take my token and report to the Hades Marine Corps." As soon as Yu Shang came in, she saw this scene. She was a little worried at first, but now she was so happy that she rushed up, hugged Yu Shang, gave him a big kiss on the face, and said happily, "I knew you, uncle best for me. Come on, stop making trouble." Yu Shang knocked on her head and said, "You're not young anymore. Don't be willful in the future. Now, you are worse than Wu Yu. I will surpass him sooner or later. Let's go first." Yukong winked at Wu Yu. She didn't want to stay here and was going to take Wu Yu directly to the Underworld Marine Corps. "Sir, I'll take my leave first," Wu Yu said. Yu Shang waved his hand, and then watched Wu Yu and Yu Chong leave. After the two left, he frowned, and said, "What's going on with Zhou? Is he really interested in this Wu Yu? It seems like a little bit. Admiration, but not much, but very caring and caring. Over the years, I have never seen her caring so much about others. Could it be that she is hiding her love in front of me?" Wu Yu, on the other hand, seems to understand very well. This kind of person must have valuable treasures. In any case, leaving him in Beiming will be beneficial and harmless. Maybe there will be additional gains. As for whether he can survive, then it can only depend on his own destiny. He had no reason to drive Wu Yu away. After all, even if he thought Wu Yu was of little value, it was still a mobile treasure house, and if he was in his own underworld Navy regiment, nothing about Wu Yu could escape his eyes. They monitored Wu Yu. He thought that Yu Chong would let Wu Yu stay with her all the time. This kid used Yu Chong to take care of him to protect himself, and then went to the Hades Marine Corps. In this way, he could keep a distance from Yu Kang and be protected by him. He is indeed very smart. If he can grasp this degree, the future will be bright. Can be expected. However, everything has variables. As he said himself, life and death are determined by fate, being born in a deserted land is indeed a sin. The next day, the fourth update is completed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 706. Chapter 699 General Tianming. Although he had left the underworld palace, Wu Yu was still a little uneasy about the rebirth of Emperor Yu and others. Perhaps only after he entered the tomb again did he realize how incredible this thing was. He and Princess Yuking were speeding through the streets of Hades City. The underworld city is really too big. Although the entire Hades City has gathered many superpowers and countless geniuses from the entire northern underworld empire, Wu Yu has only seen these people walking outside in this huge underworld city. Several hundred people arrived. More people are either practicing in seclusion or in the shops along the street. The shops here sell basically top-notch rare treasures and top-level Taoist magical powers. As for Taoist instruments, they are sold everywhere. Yes. To put it bluntly, when a Dao Yuan Shen pill was thrown on the ground, no one was too lazy to pick it up. Actually, most people are cultivating in secret. If there is an important day or event, there will still be many people in the underworld city. People from outside can also get a short opportunity to enter the underworld city, you just said. For Wu Yu, the shock brought by the vastness and majesty of the underworld had already been overshadowed by the rebirth of Emperor Yu. He didn't have much thought to appreciate this one of the most core places in the Yanhuang ancient territory. There are many mysterious places hidden in the underworld, either majestic palaces or some mysterious places surrounded by magic circles. There are many powerful people hidden in these places. Wonderful and complex magic circles are everywhere. The Hades Navy camp is very big, occupying 1/3 of the entire Hades city. Hades city is not very lively, but the Hades Navy camp is very lively. When heading to the destination, Yu Chong was also introducing Wu Yu. Are you sure you don't want to stay in the Hades Palace for a while and go directly to the Hades Navy Regiment? Yu Chong asked eagerly. It seems that she hoped that Wu Yu would stay in the Hades Palace for more time. Wu Yu shook his head and said, there are too many powerful people in the underworld palace, so there is no sense of security. After entering the underworld palace, he clearly realized that there were too many powerful people hidden there. Although they did not show up, there were many eyes looking at him from the dark. Yu Shang was not the only one who was frightened. As for the Hades Marine Corps, at least Yu Shang is the commander, and there will be no more powerful and terrifying existence than him. Okay, if you need help in the Hades Marine Corps, please notify me immediately using this talisman, Yu Chong said with concern. Unknowingly, she was sincerely concerned about Wu Yu's safety. Of course, after all, if Wu Yu died, she would have to return to the West. No problem. However, I can basically solve it myself. I just need your identity. In fact, you don't need to be restrained. When I go to the Hades Marine Corps, you can concentrate on cultivating Taoism at the same pace as before. Princess Yuking Wu Yu was very satisfied with her performance during this period. In fact, she did help Wu Yu a lot. Yukong nodded obediently. After a while, she said, the Hades Marine Corps has a very fair and equitable reward and punishment system, and there are many monastic resources that can be exchanged for rewards. People who perform well will be carefully cultivated. It is indeed a challenge for you place. Wu Yu understood that this underworld navy regiment was somewhat similar to the Yanhuang Immortal Army, but it was more rigorous than the Yanhuang Immortal Army, and was executed more like an army. When you first arrive, even if you have the recommendation of the Legion commander, you cannot directly become the leader. You can only start from the lowest level of the soldiers, the highway. However, with your strength, you will be promoted very quickly, because to be promoted in the Hades Marine Corps, there are two main things. The first is strength, and the second is merit. Strength and merit go hand in hand, and promotion is the fastest. You lack merit now, but your strength is too high for ordinary Hades guards, so even if your achievements hold you back, you can quickly rise to a higher status. With your current level, basically all the Centurions in the Pluto Marine Corps will definitely not be your opponent. The Hades Marine Corps has a long history. Over the years, all systems have been perfected, and combat power and achievements have been strictly calculated. Generally, both are indispensable, but if one is very strong, there will be no problem in promotion. Generally, Hell Guards need to reach the Yuan Shen formation realm. They are usually trained from a young age and promoted from the reserve army. When they reach the third level of the Yuan Shen formation realm, as long as their achievements are outstanding, they can almost become a corps commander, leading a team of 10. In other words, with the strength of the Emperor Commander, he can only be a corps commander here. And there are too many captains of this underworld navy regiment. Yukong continued to introduce, if you have cultivated to the 5th level of Yuan Shen formation realm and your achievements are not bad, you can basically become a centurion and command 100 people. At the centurion level, your status is already considered very high. Then it's the 7th level of the soul transformation realm. If you have outstanding achievements and reputation, have made relatively large contributions, and have a pure mind, and go through certain assessments, you can basically become a 1000 commander. A 1000 commander will command thousands of people. People have a higher status. In the entire Beiming Empire, the status of the captain of the Hades Navy Corps is at least much higher than that of the captain of the government army. With Wu Yu's current strength, he is basically invincible as a centurion. As for the commanders, he still has some capital. Normally, the average commander of the Hades Marine Corps has been cultivating for more than 250 years, and many of them have reached the level of cultivation. No matter how difficult it is to break through the bottleneck. Although their names are both centurions, the centurions of the Hades Marine Corps and the centurions of the Yanhuang Immortal Army are really not on the same level. One in heaven and one on earth. After all, the threshold of the Nether Sea Guard is the realm of the Yuan Shen, which is basically the realm of the 7 Immortals of Shushan, and they cannot be confused at all. This chapter is not over yet, please click on the next page to continue reading. You can imagine how terrifying the combat power of the Nether Sea Legion is. Princess Yuxi continued to introduce, above the 1000 captains, the 9th level of the Yuan Shen transformation realm, outstanding achievements and personal assessment by the Legion commander, can become the Nether Sea General. The Nether Sea General is already the core of the Nether Sea Legion and can command an army of 10,000 people. As far as I know, that Duan Yi will come to the Nether Sea Legion and he will probably be directly promoted to the Nether Sea General. After all, he has the experience of becoming the general of the plowing sky in the Palace Army, which is also a distinguished military achievement. Duan Yi? If Yuxi hadn't said it, Wu Yu would have almost forgotten him. Remember, he is also going to the Nether Sea Legion. In fact, after the Netherworld General, there is a higher position, called the Sea Netherworld General. The Sea Netherworld General is promoted from the Netherworld General, and his strength must be in the realm of Taoism. The Sea Netherworld General commands 100,000 soldiers and has more than 10 Netherworld Generals under his command. But the Sea Netherworld General is not the highest, and there is a Sky Netherworld General higher. The Sky Netherworld General needs deeper strength and is said to have to survive at least one disaster. There are not many Sky Netherworld Generals in the entire Netherworld Sea Corps. They directly obey Yu's Hang and belong to the highest level under the Corps Commander. Every Sky Netherworld General is a famous figure in the entire Beiming Empire. Wu Yu now just wants to quickly reach the Yuan Shen Huaxing realm. The Netherworld General, Sea Netherworld General, and Sky Netherworld General are too far away for him and have no meaning. He thought for a long time and temporarily put aside the matter of Emperor Yu. After putting it down, he felt a little more relaxed. Thinking of the huge changes he could have after the Yuan Shen Huaxing realm, he was still looking forward to it. I hope this underworld sea core can give me a chance to transform. While thinking this, Yu Xing said, in fact, among the 8 legions, the underworld sea core is responsible for guarding the underworld city, so it usually has the least missions and basically no wars. However, the legion needs to be tempered by fighting, so the emperor's uncle set up a lot of challenges to hone the legion. After you go in, you will know the details. I am not very clear. It seems that there is a space similar to the ancient Immortal Road, but it is definitely not as huge as the ancient Immortal Road. There are some foreign objects living in it. By fighting with these foreign objects, you can hone your military exploits and achievements. Space, this is something Wu Yu did not expect, but a legion does need to fight continuously to maintain the highest combat effectiveness, which is also the reason why he came to the Yanhuang ancient domain. While talking, the underworld sea core arrived. The ancestors of the Baiming clan set aside 1/3 of the land in the Dark City to cultivate the Dark Sea Legion. Standing at the gate of the military camp, Wu Yu's first feeling was naturally extremely shocking. In front of him was a continuous palace, with murderous aura rising to the sky. A black cloud shrouded the sky above the military camp, and the bone-piercing murderous intent made people shudder. At the gate of the military camp, there were 2 huge black dragon sculptures, lifelike, and the flags planted around were also embroidered with black dragons, which was the symbol of the Dark Sea Legion. The military camp in front of him was like a huge Shura killing field. It was worthy of being the world of the Baiming clan. It was really cold. No matter whether it was men or women, they all had a cold temperament, their figures were very slender, and their eyes were very cold. Maybe this had something to do with the land of the Baiming Empire. Even the soil here was black and stiff, and the temperature was very low. If it weren't for the whole nation practicing Taoism, ordinary mortals would never be able to survive in this severe cold of ice and snow. This kind of coldness was even more vivid in the military camp. Wu Yu was burning like fire. To be honest, in such an environment, he was indeed very dazzling. Princess, when Princess Yu Xing arrived, the Dark Sea guards at the gate of the military camp half knelt on the ground to salute. After Yu Xing said no need to salute, they stood up. These Dark Sea guards in the Yuanshen realm all had cold eyes and strong spirits, which were more outstanding than the Yuanshen realm masters in Dongsheng Shenzhou. Excuse me, Princess, what are you doing in the Dark Sea camp? Do you need your help? Soon an old man came forward to ask. No, I'm going to the Qianlong Hall. I know the location myself, so I don't need you to lead the way. Yu Xing passed them and took Wu Yu directly inside. Qianlong Hall is where every new Dark Sea Guard is born, because it is a place for assessment. Reserve troops from all over the country have gone through challenges and assessments here. Some are eliminated, and the excellent ones can stay. Heaven-swallowing record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 707. The beginning of the chapter. There are a lot of activities of the Hadean guards near the entrance of the military camp. When they heard that the princess was coming, even the highly disciplined Hades guards couldn't help but watch. Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow. In my impression, Princess Yuqing rarely comes here. She is one of the most noble women in the entire Baiming clan, and is of course the focus of everyone's attention. When they see Yu Chong, many people show envy and yearning. It is rumored that Emperor Minghai is choosing a Taoist companion for Princess Yuqing. Normal young people would regard this as a dream, but unfortunately there are always people better than them. Therefore, at most, I can only think about it with longing. On the other hand, Wu Yu behind her quickly attracted the attention of many people. After all, Wu Yu was really different from them. His bloodline and physique were too hot. This was a kind of heat that the Baiming clan was not used to. Some people have heard of Wu Yu's name. His name and identity gradually spread among the crowd. Dongsheng Shenzhou? Demon-sealed continent? There are still people living there. It is said that after the demon was sealed, the place became a barren land, completely deserted. The strong men who used to be there also came to the Yanhuang ancient territory. Now those who are left there are the descendants of some people with extremely poor talents back then. I have heard about this Wu Yu. He entered the Teiku Immortal Road some time ago. A few days ago, I heard that Princess Yuja personally went to Hangxian City to pick him up. He also defeated Yin Xian, the direct grandson of Duke Yin. No way. This person clearly doesn't even have a soul. Zi Mansion's UN power isn't that strong either. When the two of them arrived, even the Hadean guards started a heated discussion. If a few people with higher status hadn't glared at the noisiest person, the quarrel would have been even worse. Stop looking at it and go do your own thing. In the blink of an eye, Wu Yu and Princess Yukin disappeared before their eyes. In fact, Qianlong Hall is very close to the entrance of the military camp. It didn't take long for the two of them to arrive. Qianlong Hall is very large and can accommodate tens of thousands of people, but basically there will not be so many people inside. Looking from above, you can see a lot. The buildings are all strictly surrounded by magic circles, and there are also some mountains and rivers. In fact, these places are very cruel places of testing. It is said that Qianlong Palace has thousands of assessment venues, with varying degrees of difficulty. These assessment venues are the nightmare of every Hades Marine Guard. Many people who want to join the Hades Marine Corps fail here. However, you have my uncle's token, you don't need to take these tests, you can join the Underworld Guard directly. Just the venue for the assessment of the Hadean guards actually posed no threat to Wu Yu, and he didn't care much about it. The construction of thousands of venues shows that this underworld navy regiment is indeed very strict. Inside the Qianlong Palace, there was a large black square. At this time, I suddenly heard a lot of people inside. It seemed that many people were shouting something. Princess Yuking led Wu Yu directly in. There were several people at the door. Ming Hiwei, seeing that it was the famous Princess Yuking, of course did not dare to stop her. Princess, I wonder why the princess came to Qianlong Palace. An oath is being taken inside. Before the people following him finished speaking, Yu led Wu Yu through the long corridors and several palaces. In front of him was a huge black square. The floor was paved with black bricks with spiritual patterns, exuding an odor. Dark light. Looking around, there are hundreds of people standing in the square. These hundreds of people are relatively young and are not wearing the battle armor of the Hades Marine Corps. At this time, everyone has a slightly tired look on their face, but their eyes are very excited, even a little congested. There is no doubt that this moment is the most glorious time in their lives for them. It can be seen that they must have just passed many difficult assessments and finally obtained the qualifications to become Hades guards. Therefore, it was the most exciting time. The sound that sounded like chicken blood just came from them. In front of them, there were several people wearing Pluto Marine Corps battle armor. They should be the people taking this assessment. They were at least middle-aged. Princess Yuking. When they came in and people turned around to look at what was going on here, the oath of the mother-in-law was naturally interrupted. Hundreds of people heard the sound and turned around one by one. When they saw that the person who came was indeed the legendary Princess Yuking. For a moment, they became even more excited, and some of their faces turned red. They stared wide-eyed, a little unbelievable. They didn't expect that they would be able to see such a legendary figure as Princess Yuking just after they became the Underworld Guards. She has a distinguished status, so everyone naturally salutes her. In this beaming empire, it is difficult for anyone to see Wu Yu at first sight. These people who have just become Hades guards are basically at the first level of the Yuan-Shen realm. There happens to be a new batch of Hadean guards, so I'll just let you join them, Yukong discussed with Wu Yu. No problem, Wu Yu nodded. The few people in front also saw Princess Yuking at this time. One of them caught Wu Yu's attention. This person was wearing a black armor with a lot of blood stains on it. His exposed face and palms were very skinny, almost like a mummy, and his skin was also darker. Black energy was emanating randomly, and his eyes were oily green, which was very scary. As expected, this person practices ghost cultivation. Of course, the Biming Empire rejects ghost cultivation. If someone insists on cultivating and is willing to make contributions, then it doesn't matter, so this person can be in the Hades Navy Corps. Be a captain. Wu Yu speculated on his identity based on his realm. This person was approximately at the 8th level of the soul transformation realm. He was the person in charge of selecting the underworld guards this time. When you met this person, you hesitated a little and said to Wu Yu, "This person's name is Black Skull. He practices the way of ghost cultivation. He is vicious and vicious. We have all heard about his reputation. He can do many dirty jobs that others are unwilling to do. However, his reputation is not very good. How about we find other captains?" This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. To select a Hades guard, you need at least the consent of the captain. Wu Yu said, "No need, just him." This person alone could not scare Wu Yu. At this time, Black Skull and several other centurions half knelt in front of Princess Yuking. The Black Skull's voice was very boring, as if he had not drank water for decades. His tone was slow and unhurried, and he asked, "Princess, do you need anything from Black Skull?" Princess Yuking was also very straightforward. She directly took out the talisman given by Yu's Hang and threw it to Black Skull, saying, "This is the talisman token given by my uncle. I recommend this Wu Yu beside me to join the Hades Marine Corps. Come in, you are promoting the Sea Guard, so let him join this team and become a Sea Guard first. Black Skull, do you have any objections?" After hearing this, the Black Skull looked up at Wu Yu, smiled slightly on his thin face, and said, "Of course I have no objection to the Legion Commander's token. It is the Black Skull's honor to accept this person." Of course he couldn't say anything, this was Yu Shang's recommendation. Needless to say, a recommendation, this is an order. However, this conversation made many people present a little depressed. After all, Wu Yu was different from them. As expected, there was a centurion behind the black skeleton who said with some confusion, "Princess, this Wu Yu is from the Yanhuang tribe, how can he join the Ming dynasty, the Marine Corps? This is forbidden. After all, the Hades Navy Corps is to guard the underworld, and the people of the Yanhuang ancient kingdom." Before he finished speaking, the Black Skull slapped him in the face with a backhand, causing the man to roll on the ground several times. The Black Skull said calmly, "You dare to question the Legion Commander's decision, don't you want to live?" The man quickly apologized. Only now did people turn their attention to Wu Yu. They had vaguely heard of this name, and now that they saw it, they were even more curious. However, those who have never heard of Wu Yu's name, or even don't know who Wu Yu is, among the crowd, there is a handsome young man who has reached the realm of Yuan Shen at a young age. When he saw this scene, he immediately trembling with anger, he said, "Why? Isn't the Hades Marine Corps the most fair and strict? We have to work hard, go through many hurdles, take exams for several years, and go through life and death experiences before we can become the Hades Marine Guards. Why is this man? Can you join directly? I'm not convinced." He didn't speak loudly, but many people still heard him. "Lu Qing, shut up," someone quickly grabbed him and he realized that he had spoken what was in his heart. Wu Yu also glanced at him. In fact, this boy was quite cute. He just said what was in his heart that many people didn't dare to say. Of course, these people didn't know what Wu Yu was capable of. All they could see was that this person was in the Kanghai realm of Zifu and did not meet the standards of the Underworld Guard at all. "Slap yourself for 50, and then get out of the Underworld Marine Corps." Black Skull looked at the young Lu Qing coldly. For a moment, everyone wanted to sympathize with him. The Hades Marine Corps was his dream. He worked hard to get in and realize his dream today. Unexpectedly, he was about to leave with just one word. For Lu Qing, this was also a bolt from the blue. His face turned pale and he looked at the black skull in shock. Princess Yuking stood up at this time and said, "No need, don't embarrass him." Black Skull quickly changed his tone and said, "Why don't you thank the princess quickly?" After being reminded by the people next to him, Lu Qing knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Princess Yuking. He was also very frightened. After all, his dream was almost broken here. At this time, his eyes were filled with tears, only endless grievances, and no matter how many tears, swallow it to your heart. Wu Yu glanced at him and didn't think much about it. He knew that many people would be dissatisfied with him, but these Hell Guards were not the target of his competition. In that case, then I will leave Wu Yu to you. He will abide by the rules of the Underworld Marine Corps, but I don't want anyone to use extra means to deal with him. Princess Yuking looked around, and finally looked at Wu Yu. With the contact of Ben Wei Fu, we could say goodbye. Although she was still a little reluctant to leave, Wu Yu still asked her to leave. Staying by her side was indeed not an option. After Yukong left, everyone looked at Wu Yu blankly. Black Skull coughed and said, "Okay, from now on, I will assign you to these centurions." 4 chapters for 2 days in a row made my fingers sore from writing. Today I am letting my soul removing iron claw rest and will write 2 more chapters. I will continue to update 4 times tomorrow until I finish it. Thanks. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 708. Although Princess Yuking is gone, Wu Yu is still the focus of everyone's attention. The joy of becoming a Hades guard was at least half diluted by Wu Yu. Especially those who still don't know Wu Yu's identity and strength feel even more humiliated and aggrieved. Thinking of his many years of hard work, this Yanhuang tribesman did not need any assessment. This huge contrast is really unbearable for them. There were several centurions standing on it. Black Skeleton just counted the names at will. In fact, among these 300 people, there are good and bad qualifications, but the army is an army. If the qualifications are good, then this person enters his own team, and there will be more in the future. Perhaps it would not be of much benefit to oneself to go beyond oneself, so centurions would rather be obedient and well-behaved. For example, if someone knows Wu Yu's strength, how could he possibly be able to suppress Wu Yu if Wu Yu joins his team? Therefore, the centurions are now praying, hoping that Wu Yu will not go to him, otherwise there will be constant trouble. Black Skull moves quickly. Lu Qing belongs to the honored centurion. Basically, reading like this determines part of the future of these new Hades. The future encounters of different centurions are indeed somewhat different. Some centurions are at the 6th level of the Yuan Shen realm, and some are at the 5th level, and their strengths are also different. For example, the centurion named Yuan Sunyu was the one who directly questioned Wu Yu and was slapped. It can be seen that he may have relatively little information, or he may have been in seclusion for a period of time, so he has not heard about Wu Yu's identity and previous life. The deeds of the past few days in Hangxian City. This Yuan Sunyu was a dark and thick fat man with a sinister face and an unflattering face. At this time, he also had his head lowered and his face was livid, probably because he was unwilling to accept the slap just now. After all, he felt that he was telling the truth. This kid came out of nowhere and got involved with Princess Yuking. If you fall into my hands, I don't believe I can't kill you. Yuan Sunyu just thought this, and hundreds of people have already been allocated. And finally Wu Yu was left. The Black Skull looked back, found Yuan Sunyu, and said, "Wu Yu, belongs to Yuan Sunyu Centurion." Yuan Sunyu, I just said something I shouldn't have said. I'll give you a chance to make meritorious deeds and perform well. Black Skull said something secretly. Yuan Sunyu didn't quite understand what he wanted to do. By the way, the captain must also be unhappy with the Xuanhuan clan, but because of Princess Yuking, he can't show it. However, the Hades Marine Corps has the rules of the Hades Navy Corps. Now that he has entered the Hades Navy Corps, I am in charge of him. Centurion, his status is no different from that of an ordinary Hades Marine Guard. I can definitely order him. If I just act according to the rules and be protected by the Hades Marine Corps, there will be no problem, right? That slap made him never forget it. After all, it was so embarrassing, and it was in front of these newcomers. Okay, from now on, you will officially join the Hades Marine Corps and become a noble Hades Sea Guard, enough to honor your ancestors. Now, you will follow your centurion to your military camp. Remember, we are here, everyone is under the banner of the Netherworld General. We are all members of the Blood Soul Barracks. Of course, our Netherworld General has been promoted. In the future, there will be a new Netherworld General to rule us. Everyone, just look forward to it. In the Hades Marine Regiment, only the tens of thousands of soldiers under the command of the Netherworld General can be called a military camp. Black Skull now belongs to the Blood Soul Barracks. There should be other captains in the Blood Soul Barracks. After Black Skull finished speaking, the Centurion set off for the Blood Soul Barracks. The Blood Soul Barracks is a small part of the entire Hades Navy camp. There are 10,000 troops stationed in it. Although it is a small part, it is actually very large. It's huge. Everything you need for training and fighting is available. There are strict rewards and punishments, and there are many military regulations. You will be rewarded for meritorious service, and you will be severely punished for violating military regulations. Along the way, Wu Yu saw those Minghai guards wearing the Minghai war god armor. Each of them was cold and full of murderous intent. When dozens of people gathered together, they were indeed very scary. Compared with the last time they appeared in Dongsheng, the Flame Dragon Legion of Shenzhou is similar. If there are tens of thousands of such cultivators in the realm of Yuanshen, they would be domineering and majestic enough to charge on the battlefield. Wu Yu was a soldier, and such an army was almost what he had dreamed of. Well, of course, in fact, his 1,000 clones are already very powerful. Now the clones have caught up with the highest realm. If he can reach the realm of Yuanshen, he can have tens of thousands of clones. The entire Hades Marine Corps was very cold. The biting cold wind howled between heaven and earth, tearing apart the rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The newcomers who had just entered the Hades Navy camp had put Wu Yu's affairs aside and looked at him curiously. There were many sighs all around. To be honest, this is the place of their dreams, and today is the place where they realize their dreams. The biggest difference between this place and the army of the mortal fairy kingdom is that this army of ascetics consists of both men and women. Unlike mortals, only men can fight. Therefore, this military camp is full of men and women walking around, dressed in military uniforms. The woman has a tall figure, white skin, and a heroic appearance. She has a unique flavor that naturally makes people linger. Whenever a beautiful woman walks by, it attracts huge attention. There is no restriction on the existence of Taoist couples in the Hades Marine camp, so there are not many men and women who form Taoist couples between two Hades Marine guards. The immortal couple in this Hades Marine Corps are also particularly enviable. The newcomers are obviously full of yearning for this aspect. Some of them can't help but chat with the beauties who have also just come in. This is also an open and covered fight. There were dozens of people in Wu Yu's team, and they all joined Yuan Sunyu's team. Yuan Sunyu's team didn't have many people to begin with. I heard from a few people nearby that there should have been heavy casualties some time ago, so there were a lot more people added this time. New recruits. Centurion of the Hades Marine Corps, this is a prestigious position. Now that Black Skull is gone, at least in this team, Yuan Sunyu is the master. At this time, he walked in front, raised his voice, and said loudly, "From today on, you are members of the Hades Marine Corps. This is a huge honor. Being able to guard the Hades city is the dream of every person in the northern Hades Empire. You guys, it is indeed enviable to realize the dreams of so many people, but at this time, I have to give you a warning, listen up. Seeing that everyone was silent, he continued with satisfaction, let me tell you. The Legion is the Legion, and it is different from the place you stayed before. Here, you must absolutely abide by orders and obey military regulations. Things that are prohibited by the Hades Marine Corps, absolutely not. Regarding the details of the military regulations, I will ask you to recite them until you know them by heart. Especially the punishments for breaking the military regulations, you must remember them clearly. Well, in the Hades Marine Corps, no one is an exception. No matter what position you hold, you must do your part. If you have merit, you will naturally be rewarded. But if you violate military regulations, no matter who you are, you will be punished. Even if it's brought in by Princess Yuking, it's the same. When he was talking, the newcomers didn't dare to speak. After he spoke, they especially glanced at Wu Yu in the crowd. Obviously, this was specifically to remind Wu Yu. Wu Yu also glanced at Yuan Xunyu. He felt that Yuan Xunyu was quite stupid. He still insisted on going against him. He could indeed abide by military regulations and the like, but he didn't need to emphasize it to himself. Maybe he doesn't know me and thinks I'm just an ordinary person from the Kanghai realm of Zifu. Wu Yu could only explain in this way. In fact, he didn't want to stay at the bottom of the Hades Marine Corps for a long time. He wanted a higher position and a more top challenge. That would help him. He passed so many military camps along the way that he couldn't even count them. Each military camp had tens of thousands of people, and they were all in the realm of Yuanqian's transformation. Wu Yu compared it with Dongsheng Shenzhou, and he really understood why the people here would it's so hard to see Dongsheng Shenzhou clearly. This is just like when he was in Wudu, he didn't treat the farmers in the small border villages as the same thing. The entire Hades Navy camp was filled with evil spirits, and dark clouds were billowing in the sky, as if there were several black dragons wandering around. We finally arrived at the Blood Soul military camp. It is said to be a military camp, but in fact it is not a tent in the Immortal Kingdom, but similar to the Yanhuang Emperor city. Basically, there are endless palaces in it, and everyone can have it here. One or even several palaces have all the facilities inside, and those palaces are equipped with magic circles. If a master is assigned, outsiders cannot enter by force without permission. Of course, the immediate boss is out. In the Blood Soul military camp, there are blood-colored palaces everywhere, and the surroundings are cold and gloomy. Most of the Hell Sea Guards are either out on missions or practicing. If there is nothing to do, basically no one wants to wander around outside, so they can see there are not many people here, and Yuan Xunyu also has a certain status here, so any ordinary underworld guard he encounters will salute him. Someone new is here. It's from the Honorable Centurion. The old man over there is very arrogant. Whenever a newcomer comes, they will be teased for a while. Look at these guys, they all have tender skin and tender flesh. There will be a good show in the future. Moreover, the honorary centurion doesn't care much. He even thinks that the newcomers should be taught a lesson to calm their restless hearts and enjoy the Hades Marine Corps, haha. Walking in this deep Blood Soul camp, I finally arrived at Yuan Xunyu's territory. The Centurion's team was called Team, so Wu Yu was now considered a member of the Yuanyu team. Of course, he didn't think he would stay in the Yuanyu team for long. When a group of them walked into Team Yuanyu's palace, there was a vast square in front of them, with a length and width of hundreds of miles. As soon as they entered, there was a burst of howling ghosts in front of them. It turned out that there were already dozens of Hades guards waiting for them. These newcomers have arrived. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 709. Chapter 702 King's Temple. Team Yuanyuo, the new and the old, looked at each other at this moment. Although Wu Yu was not interested, he looked over and saw that the number of people on the other side was about the same as here, but they were all older and had been practicing Taoism for at least 100 years. Moreover, they have obviously been training in this underworld Navy regiment for at least several years, or even decades. Each of them has a fierce aura and murderous intent in their eyes. Although they may be about the same strength, but now they are facing each other, that kind of tiger and the feeling of goat is still very obvious. These old people are naturally ferocious beasts, while the young people who have just come in are kind, cautious, and reverent to everything around them, just like herbivores. As soon as they arrived here, the group of people were laughing and joking, chatting with each other. While talking, they could not hide the hungry wolf-like look in their eyes that they inadvertently revealed. Yuan Sunyu did not stop him. He led two groups of people to gather together, stood in the middle, and said, "Newcomers, listen, these people are your future brothers and sisters. They will teach you how to become a qualified underworld warrior Triton. There are 10 corps commanders here, and you will be divided into the teams of these 10 corps commanders. As the saying goes, 100 people per team, 110 people per team. Then, the team captains will help you choose your own. In the premises, all the military regulations, all the settings of the Hades Marine Corps, and everything you need to know have been laid out for you to read carefully. After 3 days, every day. Everyone must memorize the general rules by heart. After 3 days, everyone will be a qualified Hades guard. Of course, before that, the old rules, newcomers and old people, are here to get closer and have a social relationship. Friendship." After hearing this word, the newcomers were still somewhat interested. However, although these old people smiled brightly and seemed harmless, why did they still feel like they had bad intentions? Yuan Sunyu stepped aside, and there was a lounge chair over there. He lay comfortably on it, squinting his eyes, and it was obvious that he didn't care about it next. The show is on. Facing this group of hesitant newcomers, the old people were very experienced. One of them stood up and said, "Every time a new recruit joins, they must have a friendship. This is a rule. This time there are so many new brothers here at once sisters, friendship is even more important. This is the best opportunity for everyone to get to know themselves, and it is also the best opportunity for you to get to know us. In the final analysis, it is for everyone to get to know each other. New brothers and sisters, shouldn't you refuse?" The newcomers looked at each other. They hesitated a little, but most of them immediately said, "Of course. In this case, I will treat everyone as agreed. You must also be curious about the process of this friendship. In fact, it is nothing more than introducing yourself and then showing your own strength and means, so that all of us have a certain understanding of the strength of our companions. Fighting is the best way to show your strength, so we decided to let every newcomer and us seniors compete and understand each other. Do you think there is any problem?" In fact, they have just arrived, and although they are in awe of the people around them, they are still very eager to show their strength. They are also eager to integrate into this group, and they are also eager to let everyone know themselves. After all, they can all become. How could the people of Hades Guard not have a little bit of pride in their hearts? So when it comes to every newcomer, we discuss with every old person. Basically no one objects, because in fact they are not convinced and want to see if there is any gap between themselves and this group of people. After all, the other party is good at everything. Although they were in control and had a complacent attitude, I still felt a little unhappy. Everyone, do you agree? If you agree, don't go back on your word next time. Do you have any opinions? Remember, this is the Hades Marine Corps, and we are all people with integrity. If you nod, we will discuss it later, but you can't be timid. Well, that would make everyone look down on you and make everyone laugh. After all, you don't have strength, but you must have courage in the Hades Marine Corps. The person who spoke must be one of the team leaders. He followed the lead and led everyone into his trap. Those who are brave enough and dare to show their strength should take a step forward and let us see. After he said this, the old people basically took a step forward, their attitudes full of determination. As for the newcomers, Lu Qing, the young kid standing in front, said loudly, "Isn't it just a competition and a show of strength? What's wrong with this? I'll be the first to go." Someone is taking the lead, the young people are full of energy, and they have been suppressed a lot along the way. Now they have the opportunity to show themselves, and they all stand forward. Those who can't even move forward seem to be moving forward. The other party smiled and said, "I admire everyone for having such courage. Everyone is willing to accept the test, especially this young man. He is very young, but being able to become a sea guard shows that he is extremely talented and has an unlimited future. Do you think who are you challenging? I forgot to tell you, all of us are here, and any of you can choose to challenge your opponent. Of course, everyone can only be challenged once, so everyone must stand up as soon as possible. No problem, it's time to start. I want to challenge you." Lu Qing knew that the other person could speak and must be very strong, but he just wanted to challenge the strong and show himself. After all, this is his personality. "Very good," the man smiled happily, raised his thumb to Lu Qing, and then said to Yuan Sunyu, "Centurion, I like this kid very much. Can you let this kid join my team?" "No problem," Yuan Xuanyu said lazily with his eyes narrowed. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. Great, Lu Qing was excited. Since everyone has agreed, after starting, everyone must not go back on his words, otherwise, everyone will look down on him. I believe that everyone is a genius who can join the Hades Marine Corps. Don't you even have the courage to do so? Bar. Don't worry, all of us will fight. It's absolutely no problem. The newcomers were excited and scrambling, eager to go to war as soon as possible. The team leader smiled slightly and said, "Okay, let's start now." However, the competition alone is not lively enough. I am afraid that everyone will not use their full strength. According to the old rules of our Hades Marine Corps, this competition will definitely bring some glory, considering that everyone has just come to the Underworld Marine Corps and may not have gained much yet. The prize is determined to be 100 bold soul pills. No matter who they are, they must be willing to admit defeat and give it to the other party. This is an old rule, and I believe everyone won't care about it. This sentence made the newcomers stunned for a moment. To them, this was not a small amount. But, they all agreed, as if it would be too embarrassing to regret it at this time, and in fact, no one thought that they would lose to the old man. If you have no objections, let's get started. I'll say it again, everyone must participate. Of course Wu Yu knew their routine, but it was indeed very effective. The newcomers who were full of energy did not think that they would definitely be defeated. As for the 100 Dao Yuan Shen pills, although they were a lot, friendship was still important after all. Lu Qing didn't do anything at all. He took out 100 Dao Yuan Shen pills and placed them on the ground. He said, "Everyone, my name is Lu Qing. I come from the North Pole Mansion. I have been practicing Taoism for 37 years. The first level of soul transformation." He was very expressive and went straight up. The man he challenged laughed and said, "Beijing Mansion has always produced geniuses. Lu Qing is also a young hero. I am one of the captains of the Yuan Yu team. My name is Wang Miao. The realm is the transformation of the Yuan Shen. The fourth level, the third level. Today our friendship comes first, and our competition comes second. I wish you all a good time and a good time today. Of course, there was no suspense in this battle. Lu Qing showed good skills, but he still lost to Wang Miao. Wang Miao showed the strength of the third level of the Canghai realm of Zi Mansion, but in fact Wu Yu knew that he was Zi Mansion's Canghai realm. The fourth level of Fu Canghai realm. Lu Qing lost the Dao Yuan Shen pill, but he was still very excited. He bowed to Wang Miao and said, "Thank you, brother Wang Miao, for your advice." After saying that, he ran back to the team excitedly. With him at the beginning, the following people are simply rushing for the opportunity to fight, because the sooner they fight, the more opponents they can choose from. Although there are many hundred Dao Yuan Shen Dan, it is not bad to have a chance to show off oneself, and they all also want to win money from veterans. What followed was as Wu Yu expected, these people were just coveting the Dao Yuan Shen pill. Although it sounded nice, the routine was still there. In fact, they are basically stronger than these newcomers, especially in combat. There are dozens of newcomers, and there are probably only a few who have a real chance of winning. They deliberately hide their combat power, as if they fought very hard and finally defeated the opponent. Even if the recruits are losing one after another, they will arrange a defeat to encourage the recruits and let them continue. Send me the Dao Yuan Shen pill. Anyway, they will share it together later. In this way, there is continuity, and it also stimulates the ambition of the new people to defeat the old man. Even if they finally know that they have lost many Dao Yuan Shen pills, they cannot stop. After all, most of them have participated in the war, and they still have I don't dare to go up there, it's so embarrassing, how can I still hang out here in the future? This gambling battle lasted for a day, and the newcomers all lost their faces, but they still got in one after another. They finally understood that the so-called friendship was actually paying a tuition. Later, the veterans were not polite. They were dealt with directly and cleanly. These people are so disgusting, they actually played tricks on us like this. Lu Qing, who was fighting for the first time, also understood at this time that he was the leader, so now he blamed himself and almost cried. This kid cries a lot, he cries several times a day. However, it seemed that it was Wu Yu's turn, because except for him, everyone else had won and lost. Heaven Swallowing Record. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 710. The New Helen Guards had already entered the battle at this time, and only a few of them won, but among them, they probably lost on purpose. It is indeed obvious that the Hades Marine Corps has forged them. Most of these old ones are already at the second level of the Soul Realm and are proficient in various combat methods. There are more Taoist tools and talismans on his body. The key is that these have just been selected from the reserve armies from various places. The key is that they have just passed numerous assessments. This is when they are tired. There is really not much chance of victory against these veteran soldiers. The only effect is probably that I got to know a lot of people. However, the price of 100 Dao Yuan Shen pills is still a bit high. Now, everything that should be done has been done, and people are once again focusing on Wu Yu. Why is there still as if a Canghai realm? The veterans were immediately surprised. There were slightly more of them, so Wu Yu still had a few options. However, the rest are at the corps commander level. They are all left over because others dare not challenge them. And it seems that they are not from the Baiming tribe, but from the Yanhuang tribe. Among the newcomers, some of them know Wu Yu, and they don't want to talk about it at this time. They know that Wu Yu is said to be very powerful, so they can teach these old guys a lesson. However, there are many people who don't know him. For example, this group of veterans didn't see Wu Yu and Princess Yukin together, so they naturally don't know Wu Yu, and Yuan Sunyu didn't say his name. The last one, hurry up and choose someone. Don't waste time. It's just you. After Wang Miao finished his battle, he was still greeting him. He had won a lot of Dao Yuan Shen Dan, and he should be the first to take the lead. When the spoils are divided, he will definitely have the most. So I'm in a good mood now. It's been a long time since such a large number of newcomers arrived at the same time. Seeing how depressed and regretful these newcomers are now, they feel secretly happy. Yuan Sunyu also raised his head slightly and looked here lazily. Next to Wu Yu was Lu Cheng. This young man probably had not suffered many setbacks. His eyes were red twice in a row today. When he saw it was Wu Yu, he said, "You'd better stop wearing it and give in. Although you will be looked down upon, you can't give them 100 Dao Yuan Shen pills in vain." Wu Yu was startled, not expecting that he would still think about himself. He originally wanted to deal with it and forget it, so as not to waste time. At this time, seeing that these newcomers were being bullied to a bad extent, as one of the newcomers, he became a little interested. Lu Qing did not expect that Wu Yu would smile at him and then walk towards the center in full view of everyone. "Hey, you don't even have the soul to take form, yet you dare to come forward," the other party was surprised. "We don't care, we have to take out the Dao Yuan Shen pill first. Does this guy have so many?" For a moment, Wu Yu's actions became the focus of everyone's attention. At this time, Wu Yu had already appeared on the battlefield. He picked up the bag of Sumuru. Unlike others who counted 100 Dao Yuan Shen pills, he directly poured the Dao Yuan Shen pill onto the ground. "There is still a lot left over from the Dao Yuan Shen pill that I got last time." Falling down, the speed becomes faster, and in the blink of an eye there are 100. Those people didn't expect that he could actually take out 100 pills, but they still laughed at this time. However, next, they were a little dumbfounded, because the Dao Yuan Shen Dan was still falling out of Wu Yu's Sumuru bag. In the blink of an eye, it was 100, and then 100 again. At the back, the speed became faster and faster, and a small mountain was piled up directly at the feet of Wu Yu. Now everyone, including Yuan Sunyu and Lu Qing, were dumbfounded, because the Dao Yuan Shen pill, which was as big as a small mountain, could not be said. There are about 5,000 pieces in total. For all Hades guards, this is a valuable treasure. Today, none of them combined have won so much. Who knew that a mere Wu Yu could actually come up with so much? "You, what are you going to do?" Nawang Miao looked at Wu Yu blankly with a face full of astonishment. "There are so many Dao Yuan Shen pills that really make people greedy." "Wu Yu, what do you mean?" Yuan Sunyu also stood up, his eyes shining with desire. "Where did he get so many?" Lu Qing almost bit his tongue. At this time, hundreds of people looked at Wu Yu with blazing eyes, waiting for Wu Yu's answer, but Wu Yu was very relaxed and said, "Of course, I will give it to you as a lottery ticket." "Deliver." This made everyone even more puzzled, but according to their style, if they can't figure it out, they don't think about it. Obviously they thought Wu Yu meant that this was the lottery prize, so Wang Miao thought about it and said quickly, "In this case, you just choose your opponent, there are several others, who do you choose? If you lose, these will belong to him." In fact, it was already agreed that the harvest would be shared, so he didn't worry about anyone monopolizing too much. At this time, they were waiting for Wu Yu to make a choice that was very important to them. For a moment, the air almost froze. They saw Wu Yu suddenly move. He didn't know what he was holding in his hand. Suddenly he blew. Suddenly, a miracle happened. Thousands of Wu Yu who were exactly the same suddenly appeared next to him. Thousands of people. As soon as he appeared, Wu Yu said the word up, and immediately, thousands of clones, almost 20 clones, swarmed away to deal with one person. Wu Yu himself was naturally among them. Buzz. The square suddenly exploded. The old people were extremely shocked, but it was obvious that Wu Yu's target was all of them. At this time, they had no time to think about why Wu Yu had such means. They could only resist. If they were a step slower, they would have to kneel directly. In an instant, there was a melee. Not only the old people were shocked, but the newcomers were also shocked. A group of newcomers gathered together in a daze. A few days ago, I heard that this Wu Yu beside Princess Yuyan defeated Yin Xian. Is this true? Then he is almost as strong as a 1,000-man captain. Among the newcomers, some who had heard of Wu Yu were finally convinced at this time. The most speechless one was Xuanhuan. He was so scared that he almost rolled to the ground on the recliner. He quickly got up and saw Wu Yu in front of him. Wu Yu was holding a stick with thousands of dragons carved on it. He looked like a golden god of war. He smiled and said, "Centurion, since this is a social gathering, you have to participate and set a good example." Before he finished speaking, Wu Yu's stick had already hit him. Xuanhuan shouted angrily and was about to dodge and use his Taoist magic to kill Wu Yu. He didn't expect Wu Yu's speed to be so fast that he didn't even have time to react. He was hit on the head and fell to the ground with a bloody head. For a moment, the world was spinning and he rolled to the ground like a dead pig, gasping for breath. "Centurion, I will accept the defeat. I will take away 100 Dao Yuan Shen pills first." While struggling, he only heard Wu Yu say this in his ear, and then the sumi bag was taken away, and of course it was immediately thrown back into his hand. When Xuanhuan gasped and barely opened his eyes, he saw the blurry scene in front of him. He clearly saw that the dozens of veterans before were now crookedly falling to the ground, sighing, and even kneeling down to beg for mercy, but they were inevitably beaten, and finally had to hand over 100 Dao Yuan Shen pills. The one who took the Dao Yuan Shen pills was naturally Wu Yu, who knocked him down with a stick. The old guys who had been showing off their power before fell to the ground and trembled one by one, even Wang Miao was no exception. In fact, most of them had heard of Wu Yu's name, but they didn't know he would come here. Now that the news spread, they could only tremble. At this time, when they met Xuanhuan's eyes, they all blamed him. Why didn't he say it earlier? But seeing Xuanhuan also being knocked down, they probably understood that he didn't know that this Wu Yu was so terrifying. Wu Yu collected all the Dao Yuan Shen pills from the trembling Nether Sea guards and said with a smile, "Thank you all for your gifts. Wu Yu will accept them. Today is particularly wonderful." Then, those Dao Yuan Shen pills were divided into several parts in his hands and sent to the newcomers. Wu Yu didn't say much, but this was returned to them. The reason for taking action was to shock them and prevent these people from causing trouble for him at one time. After all, his target was not the Nether Sea guards. Centurions were considered average. He needed higher ranks, such as 1,000-man commanders, such as Netherworld generals, so that he could enjoy more resources of the Nether Sea Legion. Combat resources and cultivation resources. I believe that Xuanhuan should understand now that some people, even if they were Nether Sea guards when they first came in, could not be suppressed by him. Wu Yu shocked the whole audience, and the most stunned were the newcomers, such as Lu Qing, who had doubted Wu Yu from the beginning. At this time, he opened his mouth wide and looked at Wu Yu in shock. He couldn't say anything for a long time, and his eyes were about to burst into tears again. Of course, this time it was because of being moved. "Aren't you going to be assigned a place and recite military regulations?" Centurion Wu Yu didn't want to waste time here, so he glanced at Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan experienced the initial dizziness and barely climbed up at this time. They were all embarrassed and awkward now. Next, he really swallowed his anger and assigned this group of newcomers. Wu Yu was assigned to the Wang Miao team. In the Wang Miao team, there were originally 5 people, including him, and now there are 5 more, making up 10 people. He is the strongest sergeant, and there is hope to become a centurion in the future. Then Wang Miao led them to their respective places. The one called Lu Qing followed Wu Yu dejectedly at this time. He wanted to talk to Wu Yu many times, but he held back because of nervousness. And Wang Miao, who had talked the most just now, did not dare to say a word along the way. He only dared to lower his head and lead the way. The last place arranged for Wu Yu was actually a huge palace with everything. He took out a talisman and said, "This is the key to open this place. There are only two. The other one is in the hands of the centurion. Don't lose it." Okay, Wu Yu took the key and went in directly. He wanted to understand the Underworld Sea Legion as soon as possible. Chapter 3. So far, 5 chapters have been supplemented, and there is 1 chapter left. By the end of today, 6 chapters will be supplemented.